Hi, guys. So, today for our reading and writing section, we are going to read our next section in Esperanza Rising. Now, if you recall, we are at the point where Esperanza's house had just burned down, and her Tio Luis and Tio Marco are most likely the ones who started it. Now, Tio Luis wants to marry Mama, and she said she was reconsidering his proposal and would give him an answer in a day or two. But Tio Luis doesn't know is that Ramona, Esperanza's mom, is planning on leaving Mexico with Alfonso, Hortensia, and Miguel to go to a work farm in California. So we left off on page 50, which is where we're going to start now. So please get your books out. And here we go. The next day, Abuelita's sisters came for her in a wagon. The nuns, dressed in their black and white habits, gently lifted Abuelita into the back. They pulled a blanket under her chin, and Esperanza went to her and held her hand. She remembered the night that Alfonso and Miguel brought Papa home in the wagon. How long ago was that? She knew that it had only been a few weeks, but it seemed like many lifetimes ago. Esperanza tenderly hugged and kissed Abuelita. Mi nieta, we won't be able to communicate. The mail is unpredictable, and I'm sure your uncles will be watching my correspondence. But I will come of that, you can be certain. While you are waiting, finish this for me. She handed Esperanza the bundle of crocheting. Look at the zigzag of the blanket. Mountains and valleys. Right now you are in the bottom of the valley and your problems looming big around you. But soon you will be at the top of a mountain again. After you have lived many mountains and valleys, we will be together again. Through her tears, Esperanza said, Please get well. Please come to us. I promise. And you promise to take care of Mama for me. Next, it was Mama's turn. Esperanza could not watch. She buried her head in Hortensia's shoulder until she heard the wagon pulling away. Then she went to Mama and put her arms around her. They watched the wagon disappear down the path until it was a speck in the distance, until even the dust was gone. That's when Esperanza noticed the old trunk with the leather straps that the nuns had left. What is in the trunk? She asked. Our papers to travel and clothes from the poor box at the convent. The poor box? People donate them, said Mama, for others who cannot afford to buy their own. Mama, at a time like this, must we worry about some poor family who needs clothes? Esperanza, said Mama, we have little money, and Hortensia, Alfonso, and Miguel are no longer our servants. We are indebted to them for our finances and our future. And that trunk of clothes for the poor? Esperanza, it is for us. So here we have another major change that Esperanza is going through. She's going from her wealthy lifestyle where everything was taken care of to receiving clothes from the poor box at the nuns' convent. How do you think that Esperanza is going to respond to all this? We already discussed that she's going through a lot of different changes. She's lost her father, she's lost her home, and all of her belongings. And now she's about to leave her country to go to California. Senor Rodriguez was the only person they could trust. He came after dark for secret meetings, always carrying a basket of figs for the grieving family to disguise his real reason for visiting. Esperanza fell asleep each night on a blanket on the floor, listening to the adults' hushed voices and mysterious plans, and smelling the plentiful pile of white figs that she knew would never be eaten. At the end of the week, Esperanza was sitting on the small step to Hortensia and Alfonso's cabin when Tio Luis rode up. He remained on his horse and said Alfonso to bring Mama. In a few moments, Mama walked toward them, drying her hands on her apron. She held her head high and looked beautiful, even dressed in the old clothes from the poor box. Luis, I have considered your proposal, and in the interests of the servants and Esperanza, I will marry you in due time. But you must begin replanting and rebuilding immediately, as the servants need their jobs. Esperanza was quiet and stared at the dirt, hiding the smirk on her face. Tio Luis could not contain his grin. He sat up straighter. I knew you would come to your senses, Ramona. I will announce the engagement at once. Mama nodded, almost bowing. One more thing, she said. We will need a wagon to visit Abuelita. She is at the convent in La Purisma. I must see her every few weeks. I will send one over this afternoon, said Tio Luis, smiling. A new one. And those clothes, Ramona, they are not fitting for a woman of your stature. And Esperanza looks like a waif. I will send a dressmaker next week with new fabrics. In the nicest way possible, Esperanza looked up and said, Thank you, Tio Luis. I am happy that you will be caring for us. Yes, of course, he said, not even glancing at her. Esperanza smiled at him anyway, because she knew she would never spend a night in the same house with him, and he would never be her stepfather. She almost wished she would be able to see his face when he realized that they had escaped. He wouldn't be grinning like a proud rooster then. So originally when we met Tio Luis, we said he looked like an old billy goat. And now he's being compared to a proud rooster. What kind of images is that bringing to your head? He's grinning like a proud rooster. Roosters tend to kind of walk and strut through the farms. And that's kind of what Tio Luis is doing. The night before the dressmaker was scheduled to come, Mama woke Esperanza in the middle of the night, and they left with only what they could carry. Esperanza held a valise filled with clothes, a small package of tamales, and her doll from Papa. She and Mama and Hortensia were wrapped in dark shawls to blend in with the night. They could not take a chance of walking on the roads, so Miguel and Alfonso led them through the grape rows, weaving across Papa's land towards the Rodriguez ranch. There was enough moonlight so they could see the outlines of the twisted and charred trunks, the burnt-out vines rolling in parallel lines toward the mountains. It looked as if someone had taken a giant comb, dipped it in black paint, and gently swirled it across a huge canvas. They reached the fig orchard that separated Papa's land from Senor Rodriguez's. Alfonso, Hortensia, and Miguel walked ahead. But Esperanza held back and pulled on Mama's hand to keep her there for a moment. They turned to look at what El Rancho de los Rosas in the distance. Sadness and anger tangled in Esperanza's stomach as she thought of all that she was leaving. Her friends and her school, her life as it once was, Abuelita, and Papa. She felt as though she was leaving him too. As if reading her mind, Mama said, Papa's heart will find us wherever we go. Then Mama took a determined breath and headed towards the sprawling trees. Esperanza followed, but hesitated every few steps looking back. She hated leaving, but how could she stay? With each stride, Papa's land became smaller and smaller. She hurried after Mama, knowing that she might never come to her home again, and her heart filled with venom for Tio Luis. When she turned around one last time, she could see nothing behind her but a trail of splattered figs she had resentfully smashed beneath her feet. And that's where I'm going to leave you in our story right now. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you. I enjoyed our time together.